Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's truly an honor to be here. And for those of you that I've seen, I was here before when we were in Daytona. It's good to see you again. And for those that are new, nice to see you for the first time. I want to share with you an idea. In many ways, when I was thinking about what this company stands for, I got a chance to learn about it a couple of years ago. And then speaking to the executives and seeing the signs on the wall and seeing what was on the board and hearing and reading some of the responses from various patients that were in these facilities that they sent to me, there's something that hit me that I think is really the core of maybe who you are. But sometimes in life, if you could just bring it out and talk about it for a minute, you see it and then you can work on it. And if you ever had this before, where you go to the gym and you work on a muscle you didn't know existed before, you're like, what is that feeling? And the trainer's like, that's muscle. You're like, wow, now that you know that muscle is there, you can now go target it and get stronger at it. And so what I want to talk to you today about is a muscle that I think you all have already, but I want you to see it. And I also want, with God's help, I want you to appreciate it. Because you can have a gift in life that you use that you don't appreciate, that the gift that you have is something that is so valuable that the more you realize you have it, the more you're able to share it. So stick with me for a few minutes, not for that long. I want to tell you a story. I read it in a book, so it must be true. And I'll tell you this one story, but stick with me to the end. So if you can picture, just come back a bit. Everyone's finished eating, relax a little bit, sit back in your chair, and come back with me, if you can, to a early morning in the northwest of this country. Seattle, Portland, that spot. Picture, if you can, a large state park. Trees, waterfalls, paths. And you're with me now because we're right now overhead in like a drone, looking down at this beautiful, huge state park. And as we get closer and closer and closer to the ground, we see that on the park is a park bench, and on the park bench is a man. You're making out something's a little off with this guy. Looks like he's like late 30s, early 40s, white shirt, blue suit. His hands are on his knees. His head is sunk, and he's shaking. And as you get closer and closer and closer, you realize that he is not just crying, he is sobbing. Like, it's uncomfortable watching a grown man cry, sobbing. And your heart feels for him because he's sobbing, he's shaking. And in the corner of your eye is a older man, 70s, big white head of hair, velour jumpsuit, white sneakers, out for the morning walk. Walks the path, sees the young man, and just can't help but stop. And he turns to the man and he says, son, can I help you? And he goes, no, you can't help me. So he goes, please, can I try? So he says, trust me, old man, there's nothing you can do that can help me. So the man says, well, I can listen. He goes, you want to hear my story? He goes, yeah. He goes, okay, here you go, sit down. So the old man sits down, the young man says, there's a town about 30 miles from here. This town. You ever heard of it? And man goes, no. He goes, about, 60-something years ago, my grandparents came in from overseas. They had no money in their pockets. They landed in New York, and they had nothing. And they started to try to make a life for themselves in New York. They were carpenters. There was something. My grandfather was handy. My grandmother could talk to anybody. Nothing was going. They got on a bus. They ended up in Chicago. In Chicago, the big city was too much for them. They got on a bus. They ended up in this tiny, small little town, 20 miles from here. Tiny little main street, small homes. They landed on a bus. They got no money in their pockets. They go upstairs in their tiny little apartment that some service from the government gave them rent for a few months. And they looked at each other, and they said, what are we going to do? And my grandmother, with the personality, like, forget it, goes to the street corner and she starts talking to people, and she says, by the way, you need a desk, you need a chair, you need a bed? And they go, of course we do. She goes, my husband makes them. She comes up here, she goes, by the way, you know how to make a desk? He's like, no. She's like, well, you got to figure it out. And they go to the local lumberyard, and he comes back and he's handy. And he starts making desks, and she's on street corners and talking to people and meeting people. And before you know it, every single day she comes up the stairs, and she's got an order for him of a bed and of a desk and of a cabinet set. And before you know it, he starts making money and she starts making. And they start going downstairs and they have enough money to put together for a small little storefront on this little main street in small town USA. Now, my grandmother was bigger than life. And my grandfather was the smartest man with the best hands in the world. And you know when that combination comes together, what happens? Explosion. Before you know it, that little store became a double store and a triple store. And the community took to these people. The personality, the handyman, the craftsmanship. And that little store became a bigger store. And before you know it, my grandparents had a store the size of the block in Main Street. And they employ half the town. And they're good people. So they started to invest in the schools and in the hospitals. And it all came back. And all those people were appreciative. So you know what they did at the Little League? They came in and they started talking to people when the new business opened up. And when new school needed desks. And before you know it, this business became the center of this town. My father, he said my father never went to camp. He never played sports. You know what he did when he was 8 years old? He swept on the warehouse floor. He swept. And when he was 10, they put him in the accounting department to learn numbers. And he was 15 years old, he went to the marketing department. My father grew up in the store. And when my grandfather turned 40 years old, when my father turned 40 years old, my grandfather walked into my father's office at 40 years old and he said, "Son, I'm exhausted. I want to run around. We made all this money for what? I got to run around with your mother a little bit. I want to relax. I want to see my grandkids. I have a proposition for you." So that my father, he says what? "How would you like to take over the business?" And my father said, "I couldn't imagine a greater honor." And as great as my grandfather was, he said, my father took it to the next level. He started opening up nationally. He started advertising in catalogs. He started making deals with larger sports teams. Before you know it, this little business that was once in my grandparents' apartment wasn't just a Main Street. It was a national business, opening up new warehouses and new factories. And the school got bigger. The hospital got bigger. They used to have a parade on July 4th, and my father would ride the float with the mayor. They became the center of the region. Guess what? I didn't go to camp. You know what I did when I was 8 years old? I swept the floors of the warehouse. You know what I did when I was 11 years old? I was learning numbers in the accounting department. You know what I did when I was 15? I was in the marketing department trying to come up with new designs. And when I was 40 years old, my father walked into my office and he said, "Son, can I talk to you?" I knew what was happening. Could I speak to my grandfather? I said, "Yeah, Dad, what do you want?" He goes, "You know, when I was your age, my father handed me the business. He wanted to run around and be more of a benefactor and donate money and spend time with your grandmother. I want the same thing. Will you take on the business?" And I said to him, "It would be my greatest honor." He fed the line from his grandfather. "It would be my greatest honor." My father said to me, "Thank you." And I said to myself that day, my grandfather started, my grandparents started it. My father took it to the next level. Wait until you see what I got up my sleeve. This is around 2006, 2007. Everyone life in 2006, 2007, remember? We're all drunk with money back then. Everyone got mortgages to buy mansions without any money. You ever have them? You made $1.50, you bought a mansion in Orlando. You know what I'm talking about? Money was free in 06 and 07 until life got back to normal. This is 06. You take a business on in 06 and you're 40 years old and you got bigger ambitions. You know what happens next? You start building. And he says, "National's not enough for me. We're going international. And I want bigger catalogs. And I want to start doing different type of 3D printing. And I want to get new warehouses." And I took the factory farther away. And I started building a bigger warehouse. I went to the bench and I said, "You saw what we did? You saw what we built? This is a 3-generation business. We're taking it to the next level." People started betting us. Name on my grandfather and my father. And we started building it. It wasn't working. People were getting into it. And companies were buying our stuff. And we're making large deals with real companies with various assets across the country. And I was sitting there in my first year, 06 and 07, and I'm sitting around and I'm thinking to myself, wow, what did I really do with that name that my grandparents started? I'm going to buy, and we're going to build, and we're going to help, and we'll open up new facilities, and we'll open up new educational centers, and we're going to take that legacy that was started in this small little immigrants that landed on this country and take it to the moon. And all of a sudden, something happened. One of the big companies that we did business with went bust. And called and said, "I know the orders that we made for all those desks and chairs. We're going to..." Another company, that big housing company that had hundreds of apartments lined up, And before you know it, the cracks started falling and the bank said you're missing payments, and all of a sudden this factory started getting late. And I didn't know what happened. And people started having to pay late people off, and then this stuff, but then this, and this past year just, and all of a sudden I didn't have enough money to pay everything, and everything started going and falling and falling. And last night I got a phone call from my lawyers, and this 40-year-old guy pulls out his phone to the old man, and he plays him the audio, and he says, "I'm sorry to tell you this, sir, but there's no alternative except for bankruptcy." This is bankruptcy? Bankruptcy? Do you have any idea what this means? Half the people in our town works for us. My grandfather started the company, and I'm going to bankrupt it. You know why? Because I'm a moron. Because I'm a greedy, selfish moron. That's who I am. I took my family name and I'm going to drag it through the mud. Why? Because I'm a failure. And I'm going to have to bankrupt this company, and the name that my grandparents started and my parents continued to grow on my head, that name will be forever associated with failure. And that's because of me. And he broke. And the old man's listening. The old man goes, "Question." Yeah, he goes, "Who'd you bank with?" He's like, "Why is that even relevant for?" He goes, "No, who'd you bank with? JP, like, who the bank?" He's like, "Why do you care?" Because somebody's question, which companies called you first and they were going, because who in the company did you speak to? Are you paying attention here? Like, I'm bearing my soul. What matters? Who you? He goes, "I'm sorry. I should have introduced myself. I don't live here. I live in a place called Omaha, Nebraska. I only vacation here. My name is Warren Buffett." You never hear of Warren Buffett? Everyone know Warren Buffett. What you do for a living is furniture. What I do for a living is investing in companies that think that they're not enough, and I can determine if they are enough. Let me tell you something, son. You don't get a CEO problem. You're not a failure. You know what a CEO is supposed to do? Dream. That's what you do. Grow. Ambition doesn't mean you're a failure. It's '08. The market's in the tanks. You don't got a CEO problem. You know what you got? You got a liquidity problem. You know, you ever buy a house and you don't have enough money and you're tight? That's called liquidity. That's what happens to companies all the time. And by the way, it's not you. It's this company and that company and this company and that company and the government. And it happens all the time. You did nothing wrong. You're a great CEO. He goes, "Yeah, thank you, old man." He goes, "You don't believe me? Really? Okay." He pulls out of his pocket a checkbook. Warren Buffett. And he says, "I'll make you a deal. I'm going to give you $2 million right now. You make payroll. But I want 20% of your company. And in a year from now, I want you coming here on this bench 1 year. You give me back my $1 million, and then I'm going to take a piece of your company. What do you think?" He goes, "You're really going to invest in my company?" Warren Buffett is investing in Yes. So the love at first sight. Yes. You add me at a low. Yes. Takes the check, writes it for him, goes, "See you in a year." Guy takes the check, comes driving back to his house. He's going to do it himself. He met Warren Buffett and he gave him $1 million. Because he calls his wife, he calls his brother, he calls his father, he calls his grandfather. It's like Michael Jordan's basketball card. You know what I'm talking about? Like, this is Warren Buffett that he just has, and he has his signature. And he brings it to the office. He goes, "You got to know Warren Buffett?" Like, "Of course you know Warren Buffett." Like, "You know that I just met him?" Like, "Yeah." Then he goes, "Oh, look at his signature." I'm like, "Holy cow, look at the signature." And he goes to the department, the fire store. He goes, "You got to see this." And he goes from here, he goes to the best bank, he goes to his best friend. He goes, "No, seriously, it's my phone. I saw Warren Buffett." Like, "You didn't see Warren Buffett in Nebraska." He goes, "I'm telling you, I saw Warren Buffett." No, you didn't. He goes, "Come, Jen, hold on. Take your phone out. I'm sending you a picture right now." "Oh my God, that's his signature. That's his check. Oh my gosh." And the whole thing's walking around like a celebrity because Warren Buffett gave him a check. He goes out of his mind. And he goes, "But he said it gives me payroll." He says, "Listen, I'm going to go at the end of the day. Okay, give me a day with the check. Give me 1 day. At the end of the day, I'll go at the 5 o'clock, the bank closes, I'll give the bank the money, and then I'll make payroll. Great. 1, 2, he's calling his friend. Oh my God, my buddy from high school. Like, oh my God, we finance club in college. I gotta call those guys, my professor. And he's calling. Finally, at the end of the day, he's like, I gotta call. But he just couldn't get the check. As soon as he got the check, no one's gonna leave him. And what if tomorrow morning he meets somebody that he knows that's not gonna believe that he met Warren Buffett? He's like, you know what, give me one more night with the check. What's one more night with the check? And he goes home and he puts the check in. They have dinner together, and the family and everybody gets together, and everything's wonderful. He wakes up in the morning and he goes to the bank. And as he drives to the bank, he just can't bring himself to catch the check, because as soon as he does, he goes back to being a regular guy who needs that check. So he goes, you know what? I'll do it by lunch. Everyone's fine. I have enough to... So he goes and he sits down and he's got nothing to do. He's just staring at that check all day. And then something hits him. He gets an idea. I'm not cashing the check. I'm going to turn this company around. And then I'm going to come back in a year from now and hand Warren Buffett back his original check. And then I'm going to ask him for even more money. How many people don't cash Warren Buffett's checks? He's like, oh my gosh. And when that idea hit him, he exploded. He put that check on his desk. He picked up the phone and goes, hey, by the way, bankers, by the way, we're going to take my facility. We're going to have to run a warehouse. You don't know, you're a banker. You don't run warehouses. How about you let me run the warehouse and you give me the money? But you owe us money. I know you money, but we're coming back. The world's coming back. America's strong. We have a new financial. Can you make a deal? Can I see you next week? They're like, yeah, we don't want to run your business. Sure, we can make a deal. When's it good for you next week? I'll be in New York next Thursday. Can we meet? Yes. Perfect. He's like, oh my gosh. For the first time in months, he has a jolt of something. Gets up, he walks down the block, he sees these guys in the warehouse, he goes, what are you doing here? They're like, well, it's slow. He goes, get out of here. Tour over here. What, we're just sitting? They're like, yeah, come on, here's the deal, everybody. And he goes to the corner, he gets out the board, he goes, if whoever sells the most inventory, I'm putting on a plane to Hawaii. They're like, what? They're like, let's go. Guys like, you got it, sir. And they go on and they call it, and then he goes to the marketing department and goes, what's going on, you people? Why are you on your phones? Like, well, no one's buying it. Because no one's buying it because you're ready to sell. I want to see new designs. And everyone's like, what happened to the boss? And he goes department by department, and he goes to his office, and he's like, I could breathe. Goes home, wakes up the next day, and the business starts to move a little bit. There's energy. A month, he's making a little bit of money. Not as much, but a little. 2 months, he's covering payroll. 3 months, he's restructured his debt. 4 months, he's got some new clients. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months and 29 days. He's sitting at his desk and he cannot believe what just happened. A year ago, he was about to say yes to bankruptcy. Now the company is stronger and more profitable than it was before. People are moving, there's energy, there's integrity, and he just can't believe it. And tomorrow morning, he's going to meet Warren Buffett, give him his original check, and ask for a $20 million investment so that he can build everything that he wants. And he can't contain himself. He finishes his day, crosses off the last thing on the calendar, goes home, puts the check on the dinner table, his family. 5 a.m., we're meeting at the table. It's 1 year. Goes into bed, doesn't sleep a wink. 4 o'clock in the morning, he's up, and 4:30, he's dressed. 4:45, he's in the car. 5 o'clock, on the dot, he's at the bench. And he's waiting. 5:05, nothing doing. 5:10, nothing doing. And he goes, uh-oh. 5:30, in the corner of his eye is the old man. Velour suit, white sneakers. He's, Mr. Buffett, Mr. Buffett, Mr. Buffett. Mr. Buffett, it's me, Mr. Buffett, it's me. And Mr. Buffett was running over. He goes, I know you. He goes, yeah, do I know you? Like, he's like, who are you? He goes, remember a year ago, 20 miles. It's like the furniture store. He's like, the furniture store. He's like, you remember? Because I gave you money. He goes, that's right, you gave me money. Because how much did I give you? He goes, I gave you $1 million to invest in the company. He's like, that's right. How you doing? He goes, how am I doing? I bet you never saw this before, Mr. Buffett. And he reaches into his hand to pull out a check. The 2 young men in white outfits, top to bottom, come running at him. And they go, sir, is this old man bothering you? And he goes, excuse me, both of you. This old man is Mr. Warren Buffett. Have a little respect. And they go, what? I'm sorry. There's a hole not too far from here. It's right behind those trees. And on Wednesdays, we have what we call method acting. It's great for our residents to not only act, but to get into a character. And they have to own the character, not just for the day, but they have to own the character for months. And we teach them that in life, this concept of method acting, there were actors that pretended to be things for months before they got on screen. And we had this great new guy that came about a year and a half ago, and he was so depressed because he never had a chance to make any money in his life. Nothing ever worked for him. He was a total incomplete failure in business. And his name was Bob. Say, hi, Bob. Hey, how are you? They go, Bob was, you couldn't get him out. You know what we did? We had that, what's a method act? And we go, who do you want to be? And then Bob said, I'd love to be Warren Buffett. They go, they're perfect. You're Warren Buffett. And Bob is our Warren Buffett. Wait, did he give you any money? Because the last guy gave money to ended up in federal prison for, did he give you money? Yeah, he did give me some money. Like, you didn't cash it, did you? Because we'd have to deal with the police. He's like, actually, I didn't cash it. They're like, oh, thank you. Whew, that was quick. Okay, Bob, what do you say? Son, it's nice to see you. Good luck to you and have a great day. And Bob goes off. And that is the story. But what does it mean? Now listen. What did fake Warren Buffett give our CEO? Let's analyze together for a second, because in this analysis is your strength. What did fake Buffett give the son? He didn't give many money. He didn't give many contacts. He didn't give many advice. What did he give him? When me and you wake up in the morning, let me tell you how it works. Those of you who come from the science background, you know this. When you wake up in the morning every single day, your whole life, the way life works is you grow into your life and you see the world around you. One of the greatest gifts we've been given, I believe, by God is a brain. And the brain is not an Honda Accord, it's an F-16. And one of the greatest things that your brain gives you is this ability actually to not see. What that means is if me and you would go through the day and we would see everything coming at us, if our brain was open, and as we walk through life, we took everything in, we would never be able to function. I work in New York City. Do you know how I'm on the phone with somebody from another city, another state in America? And I get a phone call, and we're talking the whole time, and I get to my desk, and they go, are you alive? I'm like, yeah, why? They're like, because we've been talking for 8 minutes, and I heard 6 ambulances, a helicopter, and 5 million people around you. I'm like, I don't even know what you're talking about. You ever have this, by the way? You ever drive and the car's going like this? You have no idea until one goes and then all of a sudden you can't talk and get it. Everything changes. You ever get to your desk and wonder, how did I even get here? You ever have that? You're like, I woke up this morning. I know that. And I'm at my desk. You ever have that? But how does that happen? You know how that happens for? Because the way it works, your brain is neuroplastic. And as you learn things in life, your brain, which is incredible, goes, okay, I know how to do this. I'm putting it into my subconscious. Now just let's learn new stuff. And if I would walk through the streets and every time I'd walk into a room, if I'd be in this room right now when you're eating and I would hear every fork and every spoon and every conversation, I'd melt. If you're ever at a party and someone's talking to you and there's so much noise around you, how could you ever see in front of them? So what you have in front of you is something called a mental schema. Listen to this for 2 more minutes. A mental schema is basically a filter. It's from the research from a man named Jean Piaget. A filter basically says, your brain, it's incredible. Your brain takes in all the information and goes, not relevant, not dangerous, not relevant, not dangerous, not relevant, not dangerous. You walk in the supermarket, as you're walking through to get your list, there's a kid and mom, for those who know kids with sensory processing disorder, this is what's happening. And you look at the mom and go, you can't take your kid, and mom's like, do me a favor. You know what I'm saying? The kid walks into a room, he takes in too much information. So when me and you are walking the aisles and someone dropped the cereal box 2 aisles over, we don't even hear it. We don't hear the squeaky wheel. We don't hear that passive-aggressive husband saying to his wife, where is the oregano? It's here. I'll be home in 10 minutes. You don't hear any of that. Why? Because it's incredible. It's incredible. Our brain literally hears it and says on its own, is this relevant to you? Do you care about cereal box? No. Is it dangerous? Is the squeaky wheel coming at you to hurt you? No. And it doesn't put it into our conscious. So there you can go through your life. You can drive and not care. You don't know one car. Until it becomes dangerous or relevant. But when a kid walks in the supermarket and he has sensory processing disorder, which means he takes it too much, he sits with his mom and the cereal box drops and the squeaky wheel and it hits him and he melts. Because if we didn't have the schema, we'd walk into a room like this and melt. Which means most of the reality me and you have never seen. Our brain filters it out. This is where stereotypes come in. Because we don't see the nuance of each other's cultural environments. So we don't understand and appreciate other people because we don't know. We don't have enough time to see the nuance of somebody else to know the difference. Things look the same. Me and you have never once experienced reality. Never. Nobody. All we've experienced is a small little perspective of reality. Now watch how this works. I need like 5 more minutes. Not that. Watching this. You grow up, you're a little kid. You know, tell me, you watch little 3-year-olds. Tell me, is there a bigger, powerful force in the universe than a 3-year-old? No? Barry? You got kids like they're 8 up on their phones all day bored. 3-year-olds, they're going through the swings a million times. 3-year-old gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm up. I'm up. Right? Mommy's up. You know what I'm talking about? Sleep is the greatest enemy to a 3-year-old. He's like, he's fighting him. Sleep to an adult is the greatest gift in the world. You ever get up an hour before you have to? Is there something greater that God can give you in life? 3-year-olds are a force of nature. And guess what? By the time you're 6 months, 3 years old, everything you have now in life you learned. Eating, drinking, walking, talking, most of English, it's all been done by 3, 4. There's math, science, and a couple other things, but that's about it. 3-year-olds explode. You know why? Because they're not conscious of what they're not. Because you get a 2-year-old in the back of your car singing the song half wrong, and you're taking pictures and sending it to all your family. That kid gets a test half wrong 6 years later, you're at the principal's office giving them Ritalin. Because when they're 2, it's adorable. She says cheers, and it's a holiday. So when they're little, they're daddy's favorite, and they're gorgeous, and they're smart, and they're comedians, and they're the best football player ever. They could do anything. And then you know what happens? You get to school, and you learn you're not that funny. And you learn you're not that good at sports, by the way, which is why you're waiting for pick number 8. And you learn that you know what beauty is? Beauty is what the screen says it is. I'm going to match you to the screen and see how close you are to that screen. And guess what? If you don't come close to my screen, you're not pretty. And you learn you're not that smart. And you go through life, and you know what your schema tells you? Settle down, relax, sit down. You're not. How many people have parent-teacher conferences? Your kid, you almost feel them on your kid, and nothing wrong with that, but your kid, you know what life tells you? Relax. You're not. No, I believe you are. You're the soul. It's infinite. But the brain doesn't know that. And me and you go through life, and that little brain of ours can filter out most of this world. You know what we're filtering out? All the yes you cans. Because you got so many years. It's nobody's fault. It's reality. You got so many years of no, you're not. You got so many years of you're not what I thought. You got so many years of I thought I could by now. I thought I would have been by now. Ever had this? By my age, I should. Come on. Who told you that? The world. Enough magazines and pictures that are young that did. Makes me feel that if I'm older than that person, I can't. It's just the world competing around us. But it sends us messages of relax. No, you're not. And our brains wake up in the morning and look at the mirror. You know what we see? We see a fraction of who we are. And we don't even know it. Because we've never seen it. Our CEO looks up in the mirror and says, by this point, my father had it all together. He wasn't in his father's office. By this point, my grandfather had everything figured out. He wasn't in his grandfather's office. But you know what he sees? Me failing means I'm a failure. Our fake Warren Buffett did not give him $1. He did not give him a bit of helpful advice. He did not make one phone call. You know what he gave him instead? The greatest gift you can ever give anybody. He saw him. He saw him. He said, you don't have a CEO problem, you have a liquidity problem. And in that 1 second, he unlocked a piece of potential that was in that guy that would never have come out, no matter how hard he worked. Don't think he worked hard before he met Warren Buffett? You think he sat on his feet and said, whatever, let the company go bankrupt? So why did it work beforehand? Because he was working with the perspective of what he wasn't. And as soon as someone unlocked what he was, his damn amount of work changed. Because the greatest gift you have in your life that you will ever use for the rest of your life is your eyes. And your eyes right now are looking at people around in your life and saying you're not or you are. Right now, your children, your friends, your family, your spouses, you are looking at them and going, you're not? Or yes, you are. Yes, you can. You didn't yet. Doesn't mean you can't. You're believing in people or you're not believing in people. And if you think that their actions is not 100% correlated to that, you're missing it. Robert Rosenthal was one of the greatest psychologists of all time. He went to a classroom in the old school in California years ago. And he gave the teachers a fake test. The test was called springy intelligence. It tested for nothing. He made it up. He's a Harvard guy. They make stuff up and they get tenure. I do it, I go to jail, but they're from Harvard. They do different things. And he gave this class the test to all these kids. Many of you know this study. It's called the Pygmalion effect. And he gave, imagine, the professor walks in and gives a test to the whole school and tested for nothing. He collected the test. He didn't even mark it. He threw darts at the board to pick which would be better. He was in all the teachers at the end of the day. He says, let me tell you something. I tested for what's called springing intelligence. What is that? You think you know how kids grow? Some kids grow, no one grows incrementally. You see a kid, he's 8, 9, 10, 11. No, suddenly he's 15, he's 6 inches taller. How'd that happen? You spring. The brain works the same way. I can tell you who springs. Really? Did I say I'm from Harvard? He was lying. And he fake picked kids in the class. And then he left for the year. And he comes back at the end of the year and he goes, give me test scores. Top kids in English, these kids, fake picked. English is subjective. She's marking tests and she goes, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe Harvard gets it right. Math subjective. You can add and you can add. Top kids. Here's some IQ tests. And the IQ test, stamp how smart you are for the rest of your life. These kids go up an average of 4 to 16 points in a year. And he creates this theory that is one of the greatest theories in psychology called the Pygmalion effect, which is, you think that reality shapes beliefs? You're wrong. Beliefs shape reality. The science of attention is not just a slogan, it's your life. That's what you do. Every second when you walk in through your hall, what you're seeing, what you're doing, if I can pull it out now and put it on the table, what you do for a living and what you need to know you're doing for a living is you're seeing people that are more broken than you may know. You're seeing people that may be more vulnerable and scared. Family members, you're there. And sometimes you can't help but your hands because they got to do it. But you can't help because you can see them. And when you see somebody for who they could be and not for who they are, you unlock a piece of who they were always meant to be, and they'll never even know. And all of us in this room, if I ask you to write down on a piece of paper that one person in your life that always believed in you, it's a whole world that you didn't even realize. You didn't even realize it was your 4th grade teacher, your grandmother, your friend, your mentor. There's always somebody that looked at you once and said, I got you. You're fine. She's okay. I got her. And that feeling you had when you're around her was something different than some slogan. The science of attention is not a slogan. It's life. And when you take it seriously and you use it every day of your life, you are blowing people up. And you may never know, but God knows. And you know. And that's what it means to be you. That's the muscle that you've always used. And that's the muscle that you got to use all the time. I'm going to show this slide. I'll show one more thing and then I'll close. Watch how cool this is. You see a logo like this, and I was so blown away by the logo. I got to tell you, usually I come to these things and it's like whatever, like, another font with a different color. This stuff this is like a Talmud class. You know what I'm talking about? You see this logo? It looks like a regular logo. Because there's a regular logo, but it's not a regular logo. This is everything that you stand for. You see, because everybody they look a certain way, but it's what's inside them that's you're trying to bring out. And this thing is the DNA of interconnectivity and the heart of a person and the person themselves. And when a normal person will come to your place and they'll say, that's cool, look at the vines. He'll go, no, you have no idea. You see this thing? It looks like a cool little like tree. It's got a DNA. It's got a heart. It's got a person. Just use your eyes and see that which is behind the surface, and you'll catch it. When you go to work in the morning and you see that sign, remind yourself, I'm looking at trees all day long, but do I see what's behind the surface? Do I catch that DNA of connectivity? Did I get the heart? Do I see the person? And as you train your eyes to see that which is beneath the surface, you begin to unlock the world around you. And here's the greatest part, and with this I'm done. There's a great rabbi named Rabbi Nachman of Breslov, who says that if you see the good in others, it'll bring it out. But then I saw in his name, something different. And I'll end with this. You know what happens in life when you spend the time seeing the greatness in others? You wake up in the morning, you look in the mirror and go, oh, I didn't know I could do that. The way you unlock all the I'm not yourself is not by motivation. It's not by slogans and songs. The way you unlock who you are is when you train your eyes to see it in others. And as you see beyond the surface of other people, your eyes go, hey, you're not that bad. You really can. You see it in yourself. And the cycle continues. The cycle of true depth. You bring out that soul. It is my blessing, my prayer. Because I got to tell you something, if you didn't know this already, man, do we need this. Man, do we need a bunch of people who spend all day seeing the greatness in each other. Man, do we need people that can look across a couple of lines and say, you look different, you talk different, but who cares? Aren't you a human being? Hey, me too. How about that? Why can't it be this one awesome company that's the bonfire of the world? And every day, as you work on it, I work on it, we're working it together in our lives. We're making people bigger, making people greater. We're changing each person one branch at a time. And that, I think, is nothing in the world is more prestigious than that. So thank you so much for the time, and good luck, Goldie.